Hi, I'm April Davila for Sit Right Here. I'm a novelist and a certified mindfulness instructor, and I help aspiring authors write more and suffer less. And today is First Page Friday, where we look at somebody's first page. One of you, dear watchers, have sent in your first page, and we're going to read through it. We're going to critique it. We're going to look at what's working, what could be better, and the rest of us get to learn along the way. If you would like to submit your first page, check out the link below in the comments, or you can send it in your first page and we'll put it on the list and we'll get to it as soon as we can. We have a lot of them at this point, but send it in. We will get to it. And don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you will see it when we get to your page. Okay, let's jump into it. I always like to give the little disclaimer that I have not read this yet. I don't know what it is, and if I stumble over wording or names, just please be patient with me. Okay. Opal scribbled red all over Opal scribbled red all over July 4th. She didn't care that she was coloring outside the lines of the calendar squares, spilling her angry red sideways into the 3rd and the 5th, and below into the 11th. I'll probably still feel red by them anyway. She stopped to rest her arm. It had really been only 3 days since her mom had dumped her here. Had it really been only 3 days since her mom had dumped her here in this wilderness? It seemed like 3 weeks. Oh, but how time flies when you have a nice new box of crayons. Opal looked at the huge yellow box sitting on the picnic table. I'll be 12 years old in less than 3 months, and Grandma gets me crayons? Oh, but not just any box of crayons. This was the super deluxe box of 120, complete with built-in sharpener, as if the large number signified her maturity at all. As if Grandma were saying, I've thought it over, Opal, and decided that you're old enough now to handle the deluxe package. How about a deluxe package of disposable razors so I could shave my legs like every single other girl my age? Would Grandma ever think of getting me something I could really use? Of course not. No one understood what it was like to be the only girl about to enter middle school with hairy legs. But Grandma was obviously pleased with herself for splurging on the biggest box of crayons she could find. She must have had a coupon, thought Opal. All right, I like that last line. That's fun. Okay, let's jump back up to the top here. My first impression, just in general, is that the character almost seems to get older as the page goes on. She is scribbling, and there's a little bit of like, we'll get to it, but like some of like this line of like, oh, how time flies when you have a nice new box of crayons. This kind of speaks to like appreciating the crayons, but then by the end of the paragraph or by the end of the page, she's like, ugh, crayons, give me razors. I want to shave my legs. So there's a little bit of inconsistency in that, but let's look at it line for line. Opal scribbled red all over July 4th. She didn't care that she was coloring outside the lines of the calendar squares, spilling her angry red sideways. So this is a little red lines. I'm going to say red lines sideways into, because angry red sideways read a little funny. So spilling her angry red lines sideways into the 3rd and the 5th, and below into the 11th. I'll probably still feel red by then anyway. I would love, so describing your feelings as red, we get she's angry, right? That's what red usually indicates. So that feels very effective to me. But then I think I'd love to know a little bit more about why. Why is she angry? She stopped to rest her arm. Had it really been only 3 days since her mom had dumped her here in the wilderness? Now, I'm a little confused. Like, she's scribbling all over July 4th. Is it July 4th? Or is July 4th when mom dropped her? Like, I'd love a little more anchoring in time here. Like, why is she scribbling all it? Is she angry because something that happened on July 4th was the thing that happened that her mom dumped her? Or did her mom dump her on July 2nd? And today is, I don't, I'm a little confused about when we are in time here. She stopped to rest her arm. Had it really been only 3 days since her mom had dumped her here in this wilderness? It seemed like 3 weeks. Oh, but how time flies when you have a nice new box of crayons. I'm going to cut this line because as it progresses, we learn that she's not excited about this nice new box of crayons. Grandma thought she would be, but Grandma was wrong. I'm trying to make an indent here. I don't know what's going on with it. No. There we go. Okay. Opal looked at the huge yellow box sitting on the picnic table. Now, there's some opportunity here. I'm assuming we're in the summer because It feels like we're somewhere around July 4th. That's why she's scribbling on it. But can you give us a hint of like, we know this wilderness. Can you give us a hint of where this wilderness is? Is it, Alaska wilderness is very different than Alabama wilderness or Chinese wilderness. Like, can you give us a hint? Even if it's just like, what kind of trees are around? I don't know. Is it one of those like Midwest where the horizon is 100 miles away, or are we in California where there's going to be hills and mountains everywhere? There's some opportunity here to tell us a little bit about the setting. Also consider that sitting is always kind of a dull verb. She looked at the huge box resting on the picnic, or just the huge yellow box on the picnic table. I'll be 12 years old in less than 3 months, and Grandma gives me crayons. Oh, but not just any box of crayons. This was the super deluxe box of 120, complete with built-in sharpener, as if the large number signified her maturity at all. So I actually like this. She's like leaning into the like, oh my gosh, Grandma sees me as a baby still. But she can acknowledge that like Grandma bought the big box. So, okay, I'm with it here. As if her grandma were saying, I've thought it over, Opal, and decided that you're old enough now to handle the deluxe package. I might put this in italics since it's kind of meant to be like what grandma might say. How about a deluxe package of disposable razors so I could shave my legs like every other girl? I would just say every other girl my age. Would grandma ever think of getting me something I could really use? Of course not. No one understood what it was like to be the only girl about to enter middle school with hairy legs. But Grandma was obviously pleased with herself. So obviously, how do we know? We haven't seen Grandma. As far as we know, Grandma's not in this scene. And I think that's where the biggest opportunity is to put us a little bit more into scene. So she's sitting at a picnic table. She's somewhere out in this wilderness. But we know she's 12, but we don't really know anything else about what she looks like. I wonder if there's opportunity for that, aside from hairy legs, of course. Excuse me. Could you find ways to kind of give us hints? Like maybe bring Grandma into the scene. Like maybe have Grandma ask her, do you like the new box of crayons that I got you? Excuse me. I'm a writer. I don't usually talk all this much. So if you could bring Grandma in, I'm assuming this is like a literary fiction. This is maybe a YA, a coming of age story. We definitely have some conflict with Mom. Mom dumped her. The word dumped is very telling here in this wilderness 3 days ago. So I know the questions that come up for me is like, okay, why did Mom dump her here in this wilderness? These are good questions, right? These are the questions that keep readers turning the page. I want to know, why did Mom dump her? Like, what was going on in Mom's life that she had to dump her? Why did she dump her here with Grandma? Was that a good choice? Is Grandma someone who's actually going to take good care of our main character, Opal? So there are some interesting questions. We also have this question of like, will Opal be seen as more of a grown-up? Will she be able to, like, does she get to shave her legs, right? Does she get to feel like a normal 12-year-old girl at some point? So in subtle ways that I think, assuming this is like a YA coming of age story, those are exactly the kinds of questions that you do want to pose on your first page. I think the main opportunity is to bring in more detail about, like, so things like reflecting more on the box of crayons is something that could be pushed down a little bit. So let me think here. I'll stop. Probably still feel read by then anyway. It would be great to, at this point, like, again, the where and when. So scenes take place in a certain place at a certain time with a certain number of characters. Right now, this is one character sitting at a picnic table, but I don't know, and in July, presumably, but I don't really know, like, what's around the picnic table. I don't know what that character looks like. There's some real good opportunities here to bring in just a little more description and let the discussion of the crayons play out over a little bit more time because you're weaving in a little bit more detail. So she stopped to rest her arm and pull her hair back off of her face. Or Grandma came in and eyed her. Grandma came in wearing one of her like 1950s dresses. Why did she insist on being so dumpy. Give us a description of grandma. Or maybe grandma's like a lawyer, right? Like maybe grandma comes in her business suit and is like, it's time to get to school, get in the car. Or, I mean, it's July, presumably. So maybe that's not the right move. But the idea of this first page being a wonderful opportunity to introduce your characters, to drop a few hints of like, how are they? Who are they? What do they look like? Tell us a little bit about where the story is set, other than just wilderness. How far out in the wilderness are they? So those are the questions you actually want to answer on the first page as much as possible. You won't be able to get all the details in, but think about what can you start to seed? Like, is Opal a skinny girl, or is she rounder? And if she is rounder, does her family, or if she's too skinny, like, does her family have opinions about her appearance, and has she internalized those in some way? Like, she clearly feels like she's being infantilized a little bit, but like, what is she wearing? Could you cue us into that? Does grandma, and like when mom dropped her off, did she have her own clothes? So is she wearing her own clothes, or is she having to wear what grandma gave her and it's awful? And why does she consider it awful? I think I would spend a little bit more time building out those details. But in general, this first page is like, the writing is solid, and I really get a good sense of this character's voice, Opal's voice, of like desperately wanting to be seen as not a little girl anymore. And yet she's like scribbling, right? And 12 years is it's exactly where a 12-year-old girl tends to be, of like, I don't know, from my girl when she was about that age, you would have these moments of like, no, I want to be a teenager, like I'm ready to be a teenager, and then moments where they like crawl into bed and want to snuggle because they're still kind of little kids. The tweens are weird years, and I think this page actually gets that really well. So because she's scribbling, she's using the crayons as much as she's complaining about them. So I think that's a wonderful a characteristic, just an element of this character. She is in a weird age that is hard. And then presumably there's some hard stuff going on with her mom too, and she's staying with grandma. How well does she know grandma? Like, before she got dumped here 3 days ago, was she close to grandma, or does it feel like she's living in a stranger's house? Those are the kinds of questions that you want to try to answer as quickly as you can in subtle little ways. Like, you don't want to stop the narrative and be like, grandma was a 72-year-old woman with gray hair. Like, but if you can have grandma enter the scene and drop a few of those details into it, it'll be all the richer in the imagination and the mind of your reader. So just think about ways that you can do that, and otherwise keep going. This is an engaging first page that poses some very good first questions, introduces us to a great character, and I would definitely keep reading. Thank you so much, dear writer, for submitting your page. And I will say, if you are watching and this is not your page, but you would like it to be, if you'd like me to do a critique of your first page, check out the link in the show notes, send it in, and we will put it on the list. And don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you'll know when we get to your page. Happy writing, everybody. See you next time.